They call it Thermopylae, the Hot Gates, a narrow scar between the Blue Gulf and a wall of rock. Steam rises from mineral springs. The road squeezes through as if the land itself is holding its breath. Anyone who wants to reach the heart of Greece must pass here. In late summer, 480 before our era, dust hangs over the north. It is not a storm, it is an empire. Across the straits, bridges of boats have carried a king's ambition from Asia into Europe. His banners speak in many tongues. His officers ride beneath golden parasols. His scribes count the days by the burn of the sun on their skin. They have marched past rivers that ran thin after their columns drank from them. Some in Greece say that is a boast. Others say they do not care if it is true. They can feel the ground shake. Truth needs no herald when an army moves. The Greeks know the name of the man who comes. Xerxes, son of Darius, king of kings. He wants what his father wanted, a calm sea, obedient borders. No more surprises from the small, jagged land that calls itself free. 10 years earlier, the Athenians ran down a beach at Marathon and cut down a Persian force that thought courage could be counted like coins. The shock of that day circled the world. It circled Persia most of all. Empires remember injuries longer than they remember favors. News of Xerxes' preparations reached Greece winter by winter. Scouts whispered of engineers leveling rock, of a canal cut through a dangerous cape, of carpenters shaping rams for ships by the thousand. Some cities bent the knee and sent earth and water. Others sharpened iron. In the south, Sparta and Athens reached for each other's hands, even as old pride stung. They gathered allies at Corinth and spoke less like rivals and more like men who have seen the same dark day in a dream. If the land was to be saved, it would be saved together. Themistocles of Athens argued for wood and water, fight the Persian fleet in narrow straits, ram their hulls, break their oars, make the sea a wall. But he knew wood alone would not hold. A second wall was needed on land. Somewhere the road tightened. Somewhere numbers would fail. Thermopylae appeared on every map, a pass so tight that a farmer could cast a stone from cliff to shore, a place that made the mighty small. In Sparta, the law is iron and the calendar is holy. Festivals mark the days, wars wait on gods. Yet the messengers riding down from the north do not speak in festivals. They speak in distances. They speak in weeks. The ephors send one of their kings with a spear point, not an army. His name is Leonidas. He is not a man of speeches. He is a man of decisions. He chooses 300 Spartans to serve as the heart of the defense. Men with sons, so their names will not end with them. Men who have trained since boyhood to stand unblinking in the press, where lesser fighters forget how to breathe. They march north under red cloaks that do not hide blood and do not fear it. Their allies join them town by town. Thespians bring steady courage. Phocians know the mountain paths and promise to hold them. Thebans arrive under a cloud of doubt and duty. In all, thousands follow the 300, drawn as iron filings to a magnet. They reach the hot gates and take its measure. The cliff towers to the left. The gulf leans close on the right. The pass is a throat. They rebuild an old wall to make it narrower still. Spears can reach across that distance in one step. Shields can lock edge to edge. A wall of stone behind a wall of men. Night settles with the hiss of the springs. Leonidas walks the lines with a quiet nod. He asks no one to die. He assumes it. The men answer in kind. They bite bread. They oil leather. They speak softly about home as if the word itself were a talisman. Far out across the water, lanterns drift like stars, fallen to earth. That is the Persian fleet. It glitters. It is too many to count. The Greek ships at Artemisium answer with fewer lights, yet those lights hold as steady as the North Star. At dawn, a herald rides from the Persian camp. His voice carries on a rehearsed wind. Lay down your arms. Leonidas does not argue the nature of freedom. He does not quote law. He answers with two words: come and take them. The herald leaves without understanding that he has already carried the most dangerous weapon home to his master. A people who speak like that are not easily moved. 4 days pass in a tense stillness. The Persians expect the Greeks to flee at the sight of so much power. The Greeks expect the Persians to waste themselves against rock and bronze. In the waiting, humor rises like steam. Someone says the enemy has so many archers, their arrows will hide the sun. A Spartan replies that this will make the fight more comfortable. Shade is pleasant in late summer. Laughter eases the hand on the spear. It does not soften the heart. The pass is not only a place, it is a promise. Leonidas stations the Phocians on the high path through the oak and fir. Hold this, he tells them, and the world must come at us from the front. Down below, he arranges the ranks by city. Each contingent will have its hour, then another will take the line. This is how men outlast numbers, not by strength that never fails, but by strength that is traded like shifts at a hearth. Some in the Allied camp look at the cliff and think of funerals. Others look at the gulf and think of storms that favor the bold. Themistocles is not here, yet his plan binds them all. If Thermopylae holds, Artemisium can hold. If Artemisium holds, the road to Athens stays cruel and long. Every day bought at the hot gates is a day for mothers to lead children onto ships, a day for carpenters to tighten the seams of triremes, a day for messengers to braid a nation out of many towns. The dust plume thickens. Standards rise like a forest that walks. The great king has come close enough to see the narrowness with his own eyes. He sets a throne on a slope where he can watch the lesson the Greeks mean to teach. His officers dress in bright scale. His guards stand 10,000 deep and all the same height. They are called the Immortals, for when one falls, another takes his place, and the number does not change. The name is a comfort. Names often are. Evening drops like a curtain. Fires dot the shoreline. In the Greek camp, a singer hums a few lines about ancestors and lore. In the Persian camp, drums throb and fall silent. The moon lifts. Owls trade questions across the ridge. Men settle on their shields and pull cloaks to their chins. The night smells of salt and sulfur and oil. Leonidas lies awake and counts not men, but moments. The moment his father handed him a spear. The moment he learned to take a blow without blinking. The moment the god at Delphi murmured that a king must die, or a city must. Fate is a river. You do not stop it. You choose where to stand in it. Before dawn, he rises and moves through the ranks. He looks at faces lit by cooking fires and first light, youth and scars, fear and resolve. He sees his Spartans as he has always seen them, not as perfect, as practiced. He sees the allies as brothers now, not as names quarrelsome in councils. He stops at the rebuilt wall and lays his palm on its rough stones. Cold rock, warm hand, the old and the living in brief agreement. The sky pales. Somewhere a gull cries. The first arrows will come soon, then the thunder of feet. He does not waste words. He only says what needs to be said. This is Greece. Hold the line. The men answer by lifting shields until the edges kiss. The pass tightens one last time around will and iron. The world narrows to the space a spear can cross. The hot gates wait. Chapter 2. The Defense of the Hot Gates. The fifth morning rises pale and thin, the sea stretching out like hammered bronze beneath the early sun. At Thermopylae, the Greeks stand ready. Their armor glows dully in the light, not polished for show, but worn for war. Leonidas moves quietly along the line, offering no speeches. His presence is enough. 300 Spartans hold the center, scarlet cloaks drawn over shoulders, shields pressed edge to edge. Around them stand thousands of allies, men from Thespia, Corinth, Phocis, and other cities who chose resistance over submission. They are fewer than the dust motes in the Persian camp across the Gulf. But today, they will decide the weight of numbers. From the east comes a sound like a river of metal. The Persians are moving. Drums pound, horns blare, and the ground trembles beneath tens of thousands of feet. At the head of the host march the Medes, warriors of the empire, ordered to sweep the rebels aside. They are confident. Why should they fear a few thousand Greeks when behind them waits an army said to be endless? They march with wicker shields and long spears, raising war cries that echo off the cliffs. They see the pass ahead, narrow as a throat, and believe they will choke it with their sheer mass. The Greeks wait in silence. The first ranks kneel, shields raised, spears angled forward. The men behind press close, each shield overlapping the one to his left, until the wall looks like scales of bronze. The Medes break into a run. The Phalanx does not flinch. When the crash comes, it is like stone meeting surf. Spears drive through cloth armor, through wicker, through flesh. The Medes recoil in shock. They surge again, and again they are cut down. The Spartans move like a single creature, each man protecting the one at his side, each thrust timed to the rhythm of his brothers. The allied contingents, drilled less but inspired by the iron discipline around them, follow suit. The pass becomes a slaughter ground. Persian bodies fall in heaps, spears splinter and are replaced by shorter swords, but the line holds. Leonidas rotates his men in shifts, pulling the tired back and pushing the fresh forward, keeping the shield wall impenetrable. Arrows rain down, but the defenders crouch beneath bronze domes and let the shafts rattle harmlessly around them. A Spartan quips that the Persians shoot so many arrows they will blot out the sun. His comrades grin. "Then we will fight in the shade," he says. Laughter runs through the ranks, even as they stand knee-deep in blood. From his throne set on a rise, Xerxes watches the chaos with growing rage. This is not how it was meant to unfold. His commanders had assured him that the Greeks would break at the first sight of his power. Instead, his soldiers die in droves, while the defenders lose almost none. Enraged, he signals for his most trusted warriors, the Immortals. 10,000 strong, their name proclaims that they never diminish, that for every man slain, another steps forward. They advance with glittering scale armor and tall spears, certain that their reputation alone will crush resistance. The Immortals enter the pass, steady and silent. The Spartans brace. The collision is fierce. The Persians fight with skill, but the ground betrays them. Their numbers count for nothing in a place where only a few dozen can fight abreast. The Phalanx absorbs their charge, then surges forward like a battering ram. At one point, the Spartans feign retreat, falling back a few steps. The Immortals pursue eagerly, sensing victory. Suddenly, the Spartans wheel about, spears stabbing, cutting them down in heaps. The trap snaps shut, and the elite guard finds itself mauled like the common troops before them. The day ends with the pass still in Greek hands. Fires burn in the Persian camp as the army mourns thousands of dead. In the Greek lines, the mood is steady. They tend to the wounded, replace broken spear shafts, and eat their rations. The men are tired, but not broken. They know they have faced the greatest army in the world and stood unmoved. Leonidas offers no grand praise. He simply nods, and the men understand that tomorrow they will do it again. The second day dawns with the same grim rhythm. Xerxes believes the Greeks must be weakened now. He orders new assaults. Again, the Medes come. Then other regiments, all whipped forward by officers desperate to please their king. Again, the narrow ground betrays them. The Greek line stands firm. Hours stretch into a blur of blood and dust. The cliff walls echo with the clash of metal and the shouts of dying men. By noon, the ground is slick with gore. Persians stumble over the piles of their own dead, only to be cut down in turn. Leonidas' strategy of rotation keeps his men fresher than their enemies, and still the pass holds. By mid-afternoon, Xerxes is furious. He lashes his generals with words, demanding that they drive the enemy into the sea. The Persians throw themselves forward again, but their courage is not enough. Many die bravely, but bravery cannot break stone. Their attacks collapse. The sun dips lower. Smoke from the Persian camp rolls over the battlefield, mingling with the stench of death. Once more, the great king has nothing to show for the day but a mountain of corpses. That evening, silence falls over both camps. In the Greek camp, men sing in low voices, hymns of home and ancestors. They speak quietly of families far away. Some carve small messages on scraps of wood to be carried south if they survive. In the Persian camp, the mood is darker. Soldiers whisper about the enemy who cannot be moved, about the narrow gates that devour whole divisions. Even the Immortals have been bloodied. Fear ripples through the host. Leonidas walks the line as night deepens. He pauses by the rebuilt wall, running his hand across its rough stones. His men do not need speeches. They understand. Each day they hold here is another day for Athens to evacuate her people, another day for the fleet to regroup, another day for Greece to find unity. Thermopylae is not only a battle, it is a clock. Every hour paid in blood buys the future. But in the darkness beyond the fires, betrayal stirs. A man of Greece slips into the Persian camp. His name is Ephialtes. He knows a secret, a hidden path that winds through the mountains and emerges behind the Greek position. He offers it to Xerxes in exchange for reward. The King of Kings listens, and a smile creeps across his face. At last, the pass can be turned. At last, the Greeks can be crushed from both sides. While Leonidas's men sleep and dream of tomorrow's struggle, doom is already walking toward them through the trees. Chapter 3. The betrayal and the last stand settles heavy on Thermopylae. The cliffs loom like dark sentinels. The sea murmurs against the narrow shore, and the Greek camp glows faintly with embers. For 2 days, the pass has held. 2 days, the greatest empire in the world has been stopped by a wall of men. Among the Greeks, there is quiet pride, though no illusions. They know Xerxes will not stop until he finds a way through. They know he has the numbers to keep sending men until the ground itself sinks beneath the weight of corpses. And so the Spartans sharpen their blades by firelight. The Thespians polish their helmets. The Phocians, stationed on the high path, pace under the moon, listening to the sigh of the pines. Leonidas walks among his men with calm dignity. He does not promise survival. He speaks little, for words are small compared to what is asked of them. Duty is enough. Law is enough. Every man here knows that his fate has already been purchased with his oath. Yet not all fates are noble. In the Persian camp, a man steps forward, his heart heavier with envy than loyalty. He is Ephialtes, son of a Malian, twisted in body and bitter in soul. Denied the place he craved among the Spartans, he carries a secret he hopes will buy him wealth and safety. He tells Xerxes of a goat path, a hidden trail that climbs the ridge and circles behind the hot gates. Xerxes listens, and the promise of an easy victory gleams in his eyes. He summons Hydarnes and his Immortals. Under cover of darkness, they begin their climb, torches bobbing like fireflies among the trees. The Phocian guards hear them coming. Rustling feet, glints of light, the sound of branches snapping under weight. Arrows whistle out of the night. The Phocians rally to defend the path, but Hydarnes ignores them. He marches straight past, pushing onward to outflank the Greeks below. The Phocians, confused, retreat higher into the hills. The betrayal is complete. At dawn, a runner reaches Leonidas with the news. The Persians are behind them. The pass is lost. For a moment, silence spreads through the Greek lines, heavy as a funeral. Leonidas gathers his captains. The decision is swift. Most of the allies are dismissed. They have done their part. They must live to fight again. But Leonidas will remain. He knows the prophecy spoken at Delphi, that either Sparta must fall or one of her kings must die to save her. He knows the choice has always been his. The 300 Spartans stay. 700 Thespians choose to remain as well, led by their general Thermopylae. Their courage equals that of the Spartans, though history often forgets their names. 400 Thebans also remain, though whether by compulsion or loyalty is debated. Together, they form a final rearguard. None expect to survive. Their task now is not victory, but time. Every moment they hold, the rest of Greece breathes a little longer. The Persians come at sunrise, horns blaring, the earth trembling under their march. From the front, wave after wave pour into the pass. From the rear, Hydarnes' Immortals close in. Leonidas does not wait behind the wall. He leads his men forward into the wider part of the pass, where the fighting will be bloodier but faster. They know they will die, but they mean to take as many Persians with them as they can. The battle erupts in a frenzy. The Greeks surge outward with a fury born of doom accepted. Spears thrust and break. Swords carve and bend. The clash of shields drowns even the roar of the sea. They fight like men unchained from fear. Each strike a defiance, each shout a declaration that freedom will not kneel. Leonidas stands in the thick of it, tall beneath his horsehair crest, his cloak soaked dark with blood. He kills, with the precision of decades of training, but even kings cannot stand forever. A volley of arrows darkens the sky, and the Spartan king falls. For a heartbeat, the world stops. Then his men howl like wolves and throw themselves forward. They fight over his body with a desperation that shakes the Persian line. 3 times his corpse is taken, 3 times it is reclaimed. At last his warriors drag him back behind their shields. They will not let the enemy claim him. But the Persians press harder, more and more pouring into the gap. The Greeks retreat to a small hill behind the shattered wall. There, they make their final stand. Encircled, they form a ring, backs to one another, shields raised. Their spears are gone. Their swords are chipped to stubs. They fight now with daggers, with stones, with bare hands. Some grapple their enemies and drag them down even as they die. They refuse to give ground, even when ground is meaningless. Herodotus would later write that when every weapon was broken, the Spartans fought with their teeth. The last defenders stand atop a mound of their dead comrades, striking until they can no longer lift their arms. Above them, the sky darkens again. Xerxes, unwilling to spend more men in close combat, orders his archers to finish it. The storm of arrows falls, blotting out the light. The last Greeks raise their shields one final time, but the rain is too heavy. When the sky clears, the hill is silent. Every Spartan has fallen. Every Thespian who stood with them lies dead. The Thebans who surrendered are spared, though dishonor clings to them forever. The pass belongs to Persia, yet it feels less like a triumph than a wound. Xerxes walks among the corpses and sees the cost of his victory. In anger, he orders Leonidas's body mutilated, his head struck off and displayed, his torso nailed to a cross. It is an act meant to terrify. Instead, it will inspire, for the story of the last stand spreads faster than the Persian army. Messengers carry it south, to Athens, to Corinth, to every city that doubted whether resistance was possible. They tell of men who chose death freely, who stood against an ocean of enemies and fought until no breath was left. They tell of a king who gave his life so that Greece might stand. And with each telling, the fire of defiance grows brighter. The Persians may have taken the hot gates, but the Greeks have won something greater. They have won the memory of Thermopylae, a memory that no empire can erase. Chapter 4. Aftermath and Legacy. The pass was silent. Where once the thunder of shields had echoed between the cliffs, there now lay only the stillness of death. The hill where the Spartans and their allies had made their last stand was black with arrows. The ground was thick with bodies, Persian and Greek alike. Xerxes' men walked among them, stripping armor, gathering weapons, dragging corpses aside. Yet for all their victory, their faces were grim. They knew what it had cost to take this narrow road. They knew how many of their brothers lay cold beside the Greeks they had come to crush. Xerxes himself surveyed the field. He had won. The hot gates were his. The road into Greece lay open. Yet triumph soured on his tongue. This victory had taken days longer and blood far dearer than he had ever imagined. He looked upon the broken body of Leonidas and ordered it mutilated, the head severed, the torso displayed in fury. It was meant as a warning, but instead it became a monument to defiance. The mutilation of a fallen king shocked even the Persians. For the Greeks, it planted a seed that would never die. North and central Greece bent beneath the weight of the Persian advance. Thebes surrendered and opened its gates. Thespiae, burned for its loyalty to the defenders, was left in ashes. Villages along the way were looted and abandoned. Fear spread, but it was not despair. For Thermopylae had taught the Greeks something no victory could have taught so well: that Persia was not invincible, that free men could resist even when outnumbered beyond hope. Athens became the next target. Its people had already been persuaded by Themistocles to put their faith in the fleet. He reminded them that the wooden walls would save the city. Not stone, not marble, but ships. And so Athens was evacuated. Families were carried to the islands of Salamis and Aegina, to Troezen across the Gulf, anywhere that was safe. When the Persians entered the empty city, they found little but silence. They set fire to what remained, temples and homes alike, until the Acropolis itself was consumed in flame. Smoke curled into the sky above the ruins of Athens, but its people still lived, waiting at sea. Xerxes believed the war nearly finished. He had shattered the land defenses. He had burned Athens. Surely the Greeks would bow now. But Themistocles was already weaving the next trap. He sent false messages to Xerxes, claiming that the Greeks were ready to flee and could be crushed if the Persian fleet struck quickly. The King of Kings swallowed the bait. He ordered his vast navy into the narrow waters of Salamis, confident of an easy victory. But Salamis was no wide sea. It was a maze of channels, a place where numbers became a hindrance rather than a strength. The Persian fleet surged forward in chaotic waves, oars clashing, ships colliding. From the shadows of the straits, the Greek triremes darted out. With bronze rams, they smashed into the larger Persian vessels, breaking their hulls, capsizing them, drowning crews in the churning water. Themistocles' plan had worked perfectly. The battle raged through the day. Xerxes, seated on a golden throne atop a hill, watched as his proud armada dissolved into wreckage and foam. He had come to see triumph. Instead, he saw humiliation. The Greeks, though fewer, had struck harder, guided by unity and desperation. By nightfall, the Persian fleet was broken, its survivors retreating in confusion. For Xerxes, this was too much. His bridges of boats across the Hellespont were fragile, his supplies stretched thin. He feared being trapped in Greece with no escape. So he fled, leading the bulk of his army back to Asia, leaving his general Mardonius to finish what had begun. The King of Kings had dreamed of conquest. Now he dreamed only of returning home alive, but Greece was not finished. The following year, Mardonius marched again, seeking to crush the last resistance. The Greeks met him on the plains near Plataea. There, united at last, in greater numbers than ever before, the hoplites stood firm. Spartans, Athenians, Corinthians, men from across the peninsula fought side by side. The battle was long and brutal. Spears splintered, shields cracked, and blood soaked the fields. In the end, Mardonius fell, struck down in the chaos, and his army broke apart. Persia's might collapsed before the Greek phalanx. On that same day, across the Aegean, the Greek fleet struck again. At Mycale in Asia Minor, they destroyed the remnants of the Persian navy and sparked revolt among the Ionian Greeks. The twin victories of Plataea and Mycale ended the invasion once and for all. The Persians would never again march in such strength into mainland Greece. The shadow of conquest had lifted. Yet when people spoke of this war, when they remembered its turning points, it was not Plataea they placed first in their hearts. It was Thermopylae, the hot gates, where a king and his companions chose death so that others might live. The stand had not stopped Xerxes, but it had given Greece time. Time for Athens to evacuate. Time for the fleet to strike at Salamis. Time for the cities to unite. Time enough for victory to be possible. The Greeks honored their dead. Monuments were raised at Thermopylae. A stone lion was placed for Leonidas. On the hill where the last defenders fell, an epitaph was carved. Simple words, but words that outlasted marble and empire. Go tell the Spartans, stranger passing by, that here, obedient to their laws, we lie. The line spoke not only of Sparta, but of all who gave their lives there. The Thespians, the Helots, even the forgotten allies who held until the end. 40 years later, Sparta brought Leonidas' bones home. They laid him to rest in the heart of the city he had died to protect. Games were held each year in his honor, and his memory became part of the Spartan identity. To Sparta, he was a king. To Greece, he was a martyr. To the world, he became a legend. For centuries, Thermopylae was invoked whenever men stood against impossible odds. The Romans admired it. Soldiers repeated it. Poets sang it. In modern times, it has been told and retold, a story of defiance that speaks across cultures and ages. The phrase Leonidas gave to Xerxes, "Come and take them," still echoes whenever people resist oppression. The story of Thermopylae is not only history, it is a reminder that courage is greater than fear, that sacrifice can echo louder than conquest, and that even when the world seems lost, a handful of determined souls can change its course. If you've made it here, thank you for walking with me through the hot gates. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, remember to leave a like. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what moments of this story struck you the most. And if you want to keep exploring the great battles and forgotten legends of history, make sure to subscribe. More stories are waiting. Stories of empires rising and falling. Stories of men and women whose choices shaped the world we live in today. This was Thermopylae. This was the stand of the 300. And this is only the beginning.